Good morning, and welcome to the AIPMM Webinar Series. The Association of International Product Marketing and Management brings you weekly webinars on Friday mornings at this time. The AIPMM at AIPMM.com was founded in 1998, and it is the largest product management and marketing professional group in the world. It provides professional development and certification, including the Certified Product Manager, Certified Product Marketing Manager, Agile Certified Product Manager, and a new and very exciting Certified Innovation Leader. The AIPMM has members in 65 countries, and it is the worldwide certifying body of product team professionals, offering trainings and credentials. It's the only professional organization that addresses the entire product lifecycle from inception to obsolescence in any industry. The AIPMM 7-phase product lifecycle framework is a vendor-independent product management and product marketing standard, the PROD-BOK, that was developed with input from over 50 experts and endorsed by more than half a dozen consulting companies. It includes 7 distinct product phases from conceived to end of life and covers all aspects during the entire product lifecycle. So thank you to AIPMM for sponsoring this excellent webinar series. I'm delighted to be your moderator. I am Cindy F. Solomon. I founded the Global Product Management Talk, which is a weekly broadcast on audio. It's a top 10 business podcast in the Blog Talk Radio network. It's every Monday. And I'm delighted to present Chad McAllister, who is one of the smartest guys I know. He has a lot of credentials, including Ph.D., which I'm very proud of you for that, Chad. I love telling people I am colleagues with Ph.D. He's developed this course for actually the certification for the AIPMM, and he will be giving us this brief education into the foundation of the certification and also what it takes to bring innovation into your organization. So the Certified Innovation Leader requires a education, and there's 3 different ways that you can accomplish the education necessary to sit for the exam in order to get the credential. There's an in-person training, which is a 2-day intensive, which is just jam-packed. It's pretty much an MBA in Innovation Foundations. Or you can do the online study group, which is very exciting. So you don't have to travel to a city. And you can participate with a group online on a regular basis. It's actually a course on the graduate level, or there is a self-study module for the lone wolves who like to study on their own. I'm very excited about the upcoming San Francisco Product Innovation Leader Package. The AIPMM is bringing the 2-day intensive to San Francisco right before the first Startup Product Summit Conference in San Francisco. So February 5th through 7th, and they've put together a special price of $17.97, which is amazing. For the 3-day intensive, if you want to fly into San Francisco, the rates to get into SFO are really good in early February, and I'm very excited about this program. Here's more information, and you can ask us. We'll talk about this more afterwards. Also, you can go to the AIPMM.com site and startupproduct.com for more information. So please stay on to the end of the presentation. Chad will do the presentation, after which we'll have a drawing for participants to win free tickets to the Startup Product Summit and also get access to discounts for some of the trainings coming up and the study group. I'll be using the chat box to amplify Chad's information and to highlight other information. If there's any URLs, I'll try and put them in the chat box for you if you want to leave that open. Please use the questions box to post your comments and your questions for Chad about the subject matter we're discussing, and following his presentation, we'll do a Q&A. We'll make sure all your questions are answered. So, welcome again to the AIPMM Webinar series. I'm going to turn it over to Chad to introduce himself and to take us in.
Good morning. Thank you, Cindy. So glad to be here. We are talking about how ideas become products. This is in the context of the Certified Innovation Leader credential from AIPMM, because that's where some of this information comes from. And we'll talk about how that fits together later. My background, Chad McAllister. These days I'm an educator, entrepreneur, and innovator with 24 and growing years in software product development, developing software products. About 4 years ago, my career changed a bit, and I became a university professor teaching courses in project management and innovation, new product development, and business. And I have a group called Product Innovation Educators, where we provide new product development training and certification in innovation. Credentials through PMI as a project management professional, PDMA as a new product development professional, and AIPMM, of course, as a certified innovation leader. Originally, my degrees were in electrical engineering and kind of moved from EE into software development, and over the course of time, more into business topics, which led to the Ph.D. in organization and management. Certainly delighted to collaborate with anyone, respond to questions at chad@productinnovationeducators.com. So, how do ideas become products? Let's start with the definition of innovation, and we're going to use a very simple definition, which is turning ideas into products. So, a lot of perspectives on innovation. That's going to be our focus, at least for our time together this morning. There's many people involved in that, turning ideas into products inside of organizations. Some go by titles like project manager, innovation manager, product developer, and the like. But we find organizations that are committed to developing a culture of innovation and recognizing that innovation is key to their success, has any number of roles involved in innovation. Organizations where even the finance function has been exposed to innovation training to understand how they fit into the big picture of making their organization successful. So lots of different roles involved and lots of different titles. Let's start with an example of how ideas get turned into products. And I love this example. This is from Steve Johnson, who writes on the topic of innovation. And he did a TED Talk on this. So if you want to hear more about this, go to TED.com and search for Steve Johnson, and you'll find this TED Talk. In this case, the problem was recognizing that in developing countries, the use of neonatal incubators can have a dramatic improvement on the survivability of babies, of newborns. Unfortunately, when organizations provide neonatal incubators to third world developing countries, they work as long as they're functional. As soon as that device breaks, the availability of spare parts and the expertise to repair them just doesn't exist. And so organizations that have donated such medical equipment find that its useful life is limited. So a group that was concerned about this decided to go investigate further, and they went and did field work. They went to these environments, understood what the state of medicine was like in the environments, and what kept running. And one of their observations was that there were automobiles. You know, in all these places, there would be like a 20-year-old Toyota 4Runner, you know, still running. And so clearly people knew how to keep automobiles running. And so in their brainstorming, they recognized that if we could make a neonatal incubator out of automobile parts, that someone could keep it functioning. And indeed, that's what they did. And you can see on the picture on the right there, the heat source for this incubator are the two headlights from an automobile. So if you're able to repair a car, you can repair the incubator. Good example of where ideas come from, right? Recognizing a need, doing the work to understand the environment, the customers, the constraints, and then brainstorming solutions that can add more value to that problem. So we're going to run through some innovation frameworks together, and we're going to hit 6, time permitting here. And this is kind of like going to the ice cream store and getting the taster spoon worth of ice cream from the different flavors just to experience the flavor. We're not going to go into detail on these. Our intent is twofold. One, to expose you to some different frameworks if you don't know that these exist. This is not the entire world of innovation frameworks, but these fall into categories that are useful for us. We want to kind of understand the different philosophies behind these and then look for similarities between them. So that's the second key thing to get out of this is what's similar between these, because there's definitely some common threads between these innovation frameworks. So whatever innovation work you're involved in turning ideas into products, there's some good lessons to be learned here. And we do dive into some more detail in the Certified Innovation Leader on these, as well as a lot of brainstorming tools that we won't have time to get to today. So we'll start with the classic ideation approach. This is an idea management system. You know, this philosophy is we start with lots and lots of ideas, and sooner or later we're going to find those golden nuggets, the needle in the haystack, the good ideas that should be moved into NPD, a new product development process. So the philosophy here is lots of ideas in, some system to evaluate those ideas, see which ones make sense for the organization to further develop into viable concepts that can actually get launched as a product into the market. And you know, this looks like a database sort of system and people managing it and contributing ideas. Moving to outcome-driven innovation, there's a book by a similar title by Tony Alwick and his work with the Stratogen Group, and they've been very successful in applying ODI to improving products and creating new products. And this is really based on looking at what are the desired outcomes. What is it that would provide more value to customers? And a process for uncovering, you know, their wants, desires, and needs, all of their unmet needs. And then asking those customers to also prioritize those needs so we understand what offers them the most value. And then when we know what offers them the most value, we know where to concentrate our attention. This has been referred to as a formula approach. And so someone with an engineering background or an engineering culture might find this appealing because of its kind of formula approach. You know, you do A, B, and C, and out comes D. As a quick example, you can read more about this at the Stratogen website. I really like this example because it was improving a commodity product, right? Commodity products have tight competition, very difficult to differentiate, and very little cost flexibility, right? Low elasticity. So no real innovation in circular saws. And for any of us that have been involved in some construction projects, you know, even home construction projects, a lot of us probably have circular saws somewhere in the garage or the basement. And they're, you know, they serve a basic function. Bosch wanted to see if they could differentiate a circular saw from the competition, and they engaged with outcome-driven innovation, and they went and observed how circular saws were being used. And surprising to me, you know, in a commodity product, they came up with 14 unmet needs. 14 needs that people had not addressed before with circular saws, even though it's a commodity product. So what might someone do? You know, one example was changing the cord. Because one of the things that has happened, I have nicked the electrical cord before when I've been using a circular saw. I haven't actually cut it, but this is fairly common, especially on construction sites. When you're using a circular saw, you cut the electrical cord to the saw. Kind of stops all the work you're doing for a while until you get that fixed. So they observed that if they could actually remove the electrical cord, that was something that would offer more value. So just take the cord off of the saw itself. Let people just plug in an extension cord directly into the device. If you cut the cord as you're using it, well, you likely have another extension cord lying around, and you can keep working. So a good observation for improving value for the circular saw. And then they address some other unmet needs, you know, a dust blower, improved handle, those sort of things. And because of this kind of formula approach to innovation, they can quantify the improvement to customers. And they found that the improvements they made, raised the satisfaction from 63 to 87%. So kind of a significant improvement. So keep some of those things in mind, that they observed what was going on. They identified through the customer's input what needed to be increased and decreased in the product, and then what they could do to offer the most value. Those activities, we're going to design interviews and those engagements with customers, collect that information. Often the interviews might be accompanied with ethnographic research. That means we're doing user observations and observing users in their environment and how they're interacting with the problem or task they need to accomplish. And then using this very specific need language, right, which is expressing their wants, their desires in terms of what can we increase or decrease to provide more value. Getting that rating done for what's most important, and identifying what we're going to act on. What are the key elements of the product that we're going to act on to provide more value, and brainstorm to turn those into reality. Let's move on from that. So we've done kind of a classic ideation process, lots of ideas, ODI, now on to blue ocean strategy. So I suspect many of you know this book that came out a few years ago, very popular in the business communities, Blue Ocean Strategy. Great idea. We all love this idea, right, of creating a blue ocean, which is the notion of going someplace where there's a brand new market, a group of people without existing competition. So classic example talked about in the book is Cirque du Soleil. I enjoy Cirque. They've done a great job. Many of you have probably gone to Cirque, of transforming the circus experience that was focused on really children, families with children, to a circus experience for adults. Really a new market, and doing so created this blue ocean. And we use some tools along the way, like a value curve. I'll talk about an example of a value curve in a moment. For blue ocean activities, what do we work through? So we're going to start with some primary market research. This takes the shape of really customer-centered design. It's a theme that runs through all of these innovation frameworks. We want to understand the customers in depth, the problems that they're wanting to solve, the tasks they need to accomplish. How do we add more value to those things, right? So we're going to do things like customer interviews, probably some ethnographic research, do some secondary market research to understand what's going on, right? What are the trends? What are the competitors doing? Get a feel for all those things going on in the market. And then work through some structured brainstorming processes, right? The slide lists some there, others that could certainly be used. For example, if we go back to the circular saw, a great question to ask is, what can we eliminate, right? What can we eliminate from the existing experience that doesn't offer value to the market we're looking at? In the case of Cirque du Soleil, it was we eliminate the animal part of the show that's appealing to kids, and we do something different for adults. For the circular saw, we eliminated the electrical cord and created a direct connect instead for the extension cord, providing more value. And then we'll express this graphically as a value curve. Some issues with blue ocean have come up. Some people have found that it is not really as applicable as they expected it to be, to actually use the processes to create a blue ocean. And it's been more applied as a retrospective analysis. Like in the case of Cirque du Soleil, we recognize they created blue ocean, but they didn't go through a blue ocean system to get there. We do have some other approaches which really extend and complement this. One is value innovation. This came out of 20 years of research in the Industrial Research Institute, and still is continuing and growing all the time in terms of the body of knowledge there. And value innovation provides a very actionable framework, step-by-step approach to understanding your customer and what's most important, and making use of value curves, just like in Blue Ocean, with kind of a different emphasis. And in this example, this was a project looking at the international traveler. How could we make an airport, take an airport, improve an airport, or design a new airport to better serve the needs of the international traveler and offer more value? So what might this look like? Well, it would make sense to go to some large international airports and find international travelers and talk to them, right? Understand indeed what their needs are in their airport experience, and then observe them. You know, follow them around and observe what they do with their time. And in talking with them, we could use some formal approaches. One is called AHP, the Analytical Hierarchy Process, to not only let us rank what is most important to our users, the international traveler in this case, but also assign a true value, how important they see things. And so this value curve on the left-hand side, it's listing over here the elements that they consider important, such as in-airport time. And mathematically, we know through the interview work, we can quantitatively say, 22% of the importance to the international traveler of their airport experience is how they use that airport time. They want that to be minimized. And down on that left list then lists other criteria, right? Ease of use and security and baggage handling, those sort of things. And then for the value curves, we go to existing airports, which is this red line over here, and we assess how good of a job those existing airports are doing. The worst airports, we quantify those also, how good of a job those are doing. For example, we can see that in airport time for the worst airport, the international traveler is spending about 195 minutes, right? Average international traveler in the average airport is spending 150 minutes. So we quantify this information. And then the blue line is the best airports in existence today. And then through brainstorming activities, creation activities, if we can design a new airport experience to maximize those dimensions that are important to them. So, for example, decreasing the amount of airport time, we have an opportunity to really offer a new product, a new service of much greater value. And that's what's represented by the value curve in black there. And this is a great tool for letting us know what is important to the customer. Back to that notion we also saw in ODI of ranking, what's most important to least important. Adding some, optionally, you don't have to do this, but we could add some quantitative information, like using HP to really understand how important this is. And then know what dimensions to work on, right? And indeed, if that circle is kind of drawn around the key dimensions, if we could improve that in an airport experience, we could add great value to our business traveler going through airports. So a way of getting to a new product or service. Let's move on to a different sort of framework. So again, the notion here is we're trying to get through some perspectives and similarities in these innovation frameworks for moving ideas into products. So the traditional perspective of this innovation process often looks like we start with some objective, make the circular saw better. We do some research, we generate ideas, we evaluate those ideas, we select the ones we're going to actually develop into products, and then we launch them to the market. In a book called Winning at Innovation, the A to F model, the authors assert that indeed that is not an optimal process, and that what we actually want to get to is building an innovation culture and focus on the people involved and the roles and not the specific process, because you'll find organizations use a variety of actual processes. So in the A to F model, the focus is indeed on the roles involved. So for example, we have the activators that initiate the innovation process, and the browsers, which are really good at searching for information and understanding the customers and the markets and what's possible and not, maybe connections with R&D, and et cetera through the list here. But the point here is that instead of being a process-heavy role, this is a focus on people. And if we have the right people doing the right things in the organization, we indeed find that the processes will kind of self-emerge and fit the culture of that organization, and innovation happens just because we have the roles getting done and the work that needs to get done. And we can indeed map these sort of roles that need to occur to the people and jobs that are getting done in an organization now, and encourage them to take on these innovation activities. So more of a culturally focused approach than a process-focused approach. If we look at another one of these frameworks, IDEO, I suspect many of us know IDEO, design powerhouse for years and years now. Incredible things have come out of IDEO, or the not Microsoft, sorry, they did their own research, but the mouse that we are used to on many computers, the toothpaste dispensers that my kids use, microwave oven refinements. Now they've moved much into services and even organizational innovations, redesigning organizations. Deep experience in product development. And in their approach, they look at the roles or the faces involved in innovation. And they identify 10 faces, 10 types of roles involved. And to learn more about these, if you want to go to 10facesofinnovation.com, you can find out about the detailed information from IDEO on what these 10 faces are. They categorize them into 3 groups. The learning roles, those that are going to understand, learn, figure out what information we have now, what the customers need. The organizing roles that are going to synthesize, put information together, help get things done. And the building roles that will be building the prototypes and the stories that go around this and understanding that customer experience. So again, more of a role-driven approach, the faces of people involved in innovation. That doesn't mean they don't have a process, but they tend to want to emphasize the roles and not the process itself. So they talk in terms of a loose process. So what does that loose process look like? We have 5 key activities. We're going to understand the market, the client, the technology, right? Everything that's kind of involved around this problem. And they're going to start with, again, really a customer-centered design approach and secondary research on the market and all the factors involved with that. And that involves observing real people in their situation. So we know what they're doing, what they work, how they work with things. We've heard that a couple times now, right? Observing real people, doing interviews. That was an ODI. It happens in value innovation too. IDEO's process here. We're going to visualize concepts. Really, that means we're building prototypes. This might start on a whiteboard, drawing up pictures, getting to the point if it's a consumer product that is a physical good, of building prototypes for that with prototype materials, and getting actual experience with those prototypes and getting customer feedback on the ones that make some evaluation cut, that really look like they're viable, and then refine those prototypes based on the feedback we're getting, and then testing, and then of course implementing what looks viable and launching that for commercialization. So there's a great example on this. This is dated just because there hasn't been a new one done, but the example still is really timeless. And this was Nightline gave IDEO a challenge a number of years ago, which was to see if they could design a new shopping cart in a week. And a week is a pressing amount of time to actually go through what IDEO does. But they took on the challenge and were successful in doing so, coming up with a new shopping cart that actually offers a great deal of added value. And if you want to see this, I believe the full segment is about 20 minutes. But this does such a wonderful job of going through that process of having a variety of roles involved, different people's perspectives, analyzing all that secondary market information about the customer, what's going on, the trends, constraints, talking to the real people involved with shopping carts, including the people that have to maintain and repair the shopping cart and the problems with shopping carts in the parking lot and different issues. And then, of course, our shoppers and getting feedback from them. So if you haven't seen this and you're involved in innovation, it's really worth your time. And you can just go to YouTube and you'll find some different clips of this. Just go to YouTube and search on the IDEO shopping cart and see what they're up to with their process. It gives you good insights into the roles and that process we talked through. Crowdsourcing, the crowdsourcing and open innovation kind of fall together, different perspectives here. So in crowdsourcing and open innovation, we're going outside of our organization and seeking ideas from beyond our walls. And there's some great examples of where this has been successful. And no big surprise, if we've been in organizations long enough, we find that we tend to think about things like we always have, right? That's one of the stumbling blocks for larger organizations who really want to be innovative, is where do the fresh ideas come from? You know, you need to get out of the environment that you're so comfortable with and seek out those new ideas. So skunk work projects has been one way of doing that in organizations, where you give a dedicated team and you give them a task and you set them up for success or failure, right? They're off doing that new project, and if the project is successful, then the company likely has a new product or new platform for future success. Or if they're not successful, many times those people likely won't have a job, right, if the skunk work project is not successful, because that was its purpose in life. So the stakes are high, and people are encouraged because of the nature of the work. They really want to do something well. But it is difficult to get these new ideas into organizations. Crowdsourcing or open innovation is a way of doing this and getting ideas from outside the organization. And Quirky is a design company. I think their headquarters in New York. I'm pretty sure about that, New York City. And what Quirky has done as a group of designers and product developers is they've outsourced the idea generation part of the problem. And so you can go to quirky.com and sign up and be an idea contributor. And if you have run across some problem in your life, maybe it's a new strainer for cooking, you know, and you don't like the strainers that exist. Whatever it is, you'll find thousands of ideas that have been submitted to Quirky, and you just submit your idea. And the crowd, the folks that are participated in this from around the world that want to be part of Quirky, can go and promote ideas that they like, can vote on the ideas, and over time, the ideas that have the most appeal will bubble up to the top. And then the design team at Quirky looks over those ideas that have bubbled up to the top, and they do their evaluation of what they believe could be a commercial success, what could actually be developed to turn into a physical product, and find success in the marketplace. In the process, they make the person who submitted the idea part of the brand. They really make them the hero of the product and promote them along with the product, and put their face on the product packaging and their story. And so they're doing a few really clever things in this crowdsourcing approach, right? There's some competition in the beginning to just try to get your idea appeal to a vast number of people, right? To try to see that percolate up and see how the idea gets refined over the input from other people, right? And try to make a viable product idea. And then this big carrot at the end, which is, indeed, if my product reaches the topic gets selected by the design team and gets turned into a real product, I'm associated with that brand, so there's some promotion there, and there's also revenue sharing, right? So they are reimbursing the person that contributed the idea. So really interesting concept for a crowdsourcing sort of approach. Anyone can submit a product idea. The community themselves votes on those. Designer selects the best ideas, and then eventually something gets brought to market. And good chance you have seen some of the Quirky developed products, in Walmart and other places, that they are widely distributed. If you want to learn more about Quirky, obviously Quirky.com website has information on there. They did do a little TV series once upon a time about this process and the people involved, and it's Quirky TV. And I looked recently. I first stumbled across it on Hulu.com, and I haven't found it there recently though. But if you Google Quirky TV, you might be able to find somewhere where it's still available on the web. And really interesting idea of an open innovation approach where you're responding to a crowd's ideas and generating ideas. So let's look at a specific example here that cuts through a couple of these approaches. So Compassion International has been around for a number of years now. They're a nonprofit organization, and their mission in life is essentially just to show love to impoverished children around the world. And they work in third world countries through the local community and through churches to provide for the needs for impoverished kids. They are providing food and clothing and schooling and meeting their needs and trying to keep them healthy and educated. As an organization, they really had one product, which was this sponsorship notion, right? For a few dollars a month, you can donate money to sponsor a specific kid that you can get to know, right, through information on that child and mailing back and forth through a good process they have, and really make a connection. So with a specific child that you are sponsoring in some part of the world, you know, like Guatemala. And seeing how they grow through the work of compassion. And that was really Compassion International's product, this notion of sponsoring a child, and then all the work they do on the back end, working with the local community and churches to meet those children's needs. So it was a culture that wasn't really familiar with innovation, with developing new products. And so what would make sense in a culture like that? Well, the classic ideation approach is really a good fit for that culture, where you take lots of ideas and you try to come up with a few really good nuggets out of that make sense for the organization. And that's what Compassion did. So they had employees submit ideas for new products that would make sense for Compassion. About 1,700 ideas was generated in that process. There's going to be some overlap in those ideas, of course, as they come in, and things that can be synthesized and combined together, and some things that are good fits for their organizations and others that could be rejected because they really aren't fits or not feasible. So out of that ideation process of 1,700 ideas, they synthesized down to 35 vetted ideas that had some viability. And then the executive team ranked those into their top 20 favorites, ranking them on the dimensions of what is something that we are excited to do. You know, I would personally be motivated to see Compassion International develop this product, and what is well aligned with our purpose, our mission, our strategy. And then did a similar sort of effort in external research. So for people that would be looking to provide money to nonprofit organizations to help impoverished children, what would they be excited about? And so doing that market research to, again, rank that top 20 list based on an external perspective of, on one hand, you know, Compassion's customers, the sponsors that provide the money. So, and then the top ideas got moved into a new product development process. They used value innovation along the way, and we'll look at that for a moment. And the product that has come out of this process is water of life. I understand they have some other products in the line, but Water of Life has come out. I think last year, right before last year, it came out. So in this process, we're going through some of the steps we've seen already, right? They use an ideation process to generate lots of ideas, get down to a few that looked viable, pursued this one called Water of Life. Then they did their market research to get their hands around what was going on in terms of big picture trends, like Indeed, because Water of Life is trying to provide clean water to third world environments. There's a trend there that's actually getting very popular, at least in Western cultures. People's mind is something that needs to get done. And then looking at the specific, you know, primary research, right? Doing the field work to go on site in these places, understand what the constraints are, what's the environment like, what really could work and might not work. And some interesting things came out of that. So just like we saw before, this is a presentation of a value curve with the criteria listed here on the left. This was for Rwanda specifically. The criteria that was most important to meeting the needs of the people there. Some things they found along the way, though, like odor, I thought was particularly interesting. There are other organizations which have tried to do things like provide water cleaning equipment into these environments, and some of them have the consequence of adding a chemical odor to the clean water, right, through the filtration technique that is used. And people are accustomed to drinking the water the way that it smells. And if you alter that drastically, then they may not be receptive to it. And in this case, if the odor isn't kind of what they think it should be like, they're likely not to drink the water. And you can find where this chemical filtration is done, people aren't receptive to that clean water, even though it's better and healthier for them. It doesn't seem right to them, right? And examples of that. At the same time, I am a big supporter of wanting to see wells drilled in third world places to provide clean water. The problem we ran into with this approach is just like that neonatal incubator we talked about in the beginning. That well is wonderful as long as that well is mechanically functioning. As soon as the well breaks down, it stops. And in the field research that Compassion did, they found a well. I believe it had been unworking for 2 years because of a 50-cent fuse. Right, the fuse blew. There's no local hardware store to run to get another fuse and put it back in. Right, so having systems that work in the environment is really important. That work with those consumers meeting their needs. So the end result of understanding those dimensions, what really provided value to the customer, what the constraints were because of the environment, what would be received well by the customers, impoverished people in third world countries, they came up with this concept called water of life. Simple concept. Basically a bucket, you pour water in, out of the bucket through a very ingenious filtration system that they partnered with a Sawyer company to create. Not non-mechanical at all, easy to clean, to keep running for 1 million gallons of water, this water of life system. So this is something that's really making a big difference. This is a product innovation story that's easy to get behind, where we have 4,000 kids dying in the world today because of waterborne illness complications. Now a simple, inexpensive way that is maintainable of getting clean water into people's hands in environments where they have access to brackish water within a few miles, and now a way to clean that and make it safe to drink. So really interesting story. If you want to learn more about that, you go to water.compassion.com. And if you care to donate for this cause, you can buy someone a bucket in a third world country for $79. For a $79 donation, Compassion will get one into someone's hands that needs it. Okay, so let's summarize a bit here through these big innovation frameworks. Idea management system. The philosophy here is lots of ideas in, we get a few out. We do see that sort of notion at play in some of these other processes, right? Where, like IDEO, we'll talk about, we're going to try lots of ideas, build lots of prototypes, put things together, right? So there's an element of that in play in some of these frameworks. ODI focused on the problem and task that people need to accomplish, the consumer. Interviews firsthand with them, doing the user observations, ethnographic research, and then kind of a formulaic approach, right? Understanding how do we increase the product in one dimension or decrease it in one dimension to add more value to the consumer. Blue ocean strategy, and really what I see as making that more applicable is the value innovation approach. And if you want to learn more about that, there's a book called Value Innovation Works that will share some case studies of how it's been applied. And then what I would read for it is really the specific steps are laid out in there of how you identify the value chain, value network that you play in. Who do you really need to be talking to understand what provides value to them? What information do you need to find out? And using this value innovation curve, the value curve, to understand the dimensions of the product that can be improved. So, lots of ideas approach, kind of more process-driven approaches with the outcome-driven innovation and value innovation, and then moving into more role or cultural-focused approaches. A to F model says we're going to get the right people doing the right things around innovation, not really concerned about what the specific process is, although indeed we could map a process to what happens inside an organization. IDEO's deep dive, if you haven't before, take a look at that classic shopping cart, just a great example. Again, focused on having the right roles involved, the right people doing the right things. A lot of interaction around generating ideas, building prototypes, getting feedback from the consumer, and refining the prototype until you've finally launched. And then crowdsourcing and open innovation, going outside of the organization to get new ideas. and have people contribute those ideas. And often these are set up in some sort of competition. Often there's some sort of reward for doing so. So let's put that in the context of AIPMM. Their Certified Innovation Leader credential. The information we just went through is a very small slice out of that CIL, Certified Innovation Leader program. The information, the body of knowledge, is kind of divided into two big categories in CIL. There's the managed front end that will look at things like culture and that ideation management and business case development. And then the new product development process that's going through a structured process for how do you take that viable product concept and get it into a physical product or a service. Kind of the graphical way of looking at that, this is how the information is organized. By content, about half of it is the managed front end. You may be more familiar with the term fuzzy front end, but we like the term managed because indeed there are processes here and activities that you can manage. And then the other half, the new product development body of knowledge. The slice of things that we just went through, some of that is contained under project identification, so getting exposed to some of those innovation frameworks. And then in the program, in the CIL program, we'll look more at brainstorming tools that are used, maybe some analysis for those big frameworks, which ones might apply better or to some organizations than others. So a lot of information contained in the Certified Innovation Leader program that AIPMM is doing. And my group I introduced before, we are providing an online course for that. We have done face-to-face workshops before for this, and we're taking our experience with other online study groups that we do and applying them towards Certified Innovation Leader. And the first one actually launches Tuesday, January 8th. And because it is our first one, we're having special introductory pricing on that. In the future, the regular price for that training is going to be $845. We're discounting it to less than half. So for $395, you can do the online course. There's also the required $395 for the proctored exam to become a Certified Innovation Leader. And AIPMM themselves are offering a special introductory offer with that. So for the $395, they're also including an annual premium membership to the AIPMM resources, which is a $175 value added on. So if anyone is interested in really learning more about this body of knowledge of how start to finish, ideas get turned into products, we have time to kind of get through a slice of that. This is a good opportunity to join this in a cost-affordable way. What our online course looks like is there's self-study materials, but we do organize it with the intent of going together as a group of people. So you're doing work, kind of asynchronously, but there's opportunities for live webinars and for collaboration through discussion groups. So you can see how this information gets applied in different industries just by the interaction with colleagues. And also a great opportunity for building a network, doing professional development with each other. And that course is designed to take place over 7 weeks. Of course, people can self-study and go at the rate that you want, but to kind of have that interaction with each other, we designed it to take place over 7 weeks. And as I mentioned, it's starting January 8th with the kickoff webinar. And more information on all that is at productinnovationeducators.com. And you just go to the AIPMM training tab and click on that, and you'll find information, more information on there and a place to register if you'd like to. So we'll wrap up with that. My contact information, again, if you want to get a hold of me, Chad at productinnovationeducators.com, similar website. And Cindy, be glad to entertain questions if there's questions that have come in, more things we can talk about.
Yes, so there are quite a few questions. Lots of great interaction today. A lot of participants. Great way to start off the new year. So the number one frequently asked question is, will the slides be available? And yes, they will be. They will be available on the AIPMM.com site under webinars, where this webinar was initially presented. Also, in a couple of hours, you get a follow-up email with that URL, and they'll also be posted on Chad's blog, I believe. So some specifics about the CIL. There's a CIL credential is that certificate available through the online course study?
Yeah, so this is backed by AIPMM, so it's their certificate program. We were one of the people that contributed information to help actually get that created, because there was kind of a void just in such a thing being offered, really focused on innovation and this, emphasizing the managed front end. So how it works, however you approach it, whether you go to a live workshop or do our online study group, at the end of that, there is a exam experience. So the exam experience looks like taking 100 multiple choice questions. You have a 2-hour framework, a 2-hour time frame for doing so, and passing with a 75% pass rate. If you get 75% of the questions accurate, then you earn the certification. So it's that training coupled with the exam experience to then say AIPMM will tell the world if anyone ever calls and ask if you're certified. Yes, indeed they are. They've completed the requirements to be a certified innovation leader.
Okay, and can that...
And maybe I should just clarify, Cindy, too, for the workshop experience, you can take that test there at the end of the workshop. For the online course, we do that through a remotely proctored system. So you can actually take it from the comfort of your office or home, just from your computer, and it's remotely proctored by an independent company.
Got it. That was the next question. Okay, so when you take the 2-day course, you take the exam at the end of the course. When you take the online course, the exam is after you schedule it. Okay, so
yes,
a lot of specific questions related to software. So which of the models that you described do you think best reflects how Apple operates? Since it's an established innovator, is the method that Apple uses a good validation?
Gosh, Apple blurs the lines between so many traditional ways of thinking about things. So Apple is a challenging example to look at. It is fair to say Apple is special. Steve Jobs was special, and he created a culture that was unique to him. And really, the jury's kind of out. We already see the structure of Apple changing, and I suspect we'll see that influence the culture in a post-Steve Jobs era. To kind of know what happens with that, we should not overestimate we should not underestimate the power and influence of culture, because we can take processes and dump them on any group and that have been very successful in one place and have them fail miserably. Apple's success is they do smart things, but their culture is one that is of design and innovation. So if we were to contrast them with some other approaches, Microsoft, for example, Microsoft is focused on the process of creating products that offer value, right? I use Microsoft Office, love it, it offers me value. Apple has a much stronger design element. They're more focused on the user experience, right? They're creating hardware and software that offers value, but they want to do so in a user experience that is exceptionally appealing. Apple, when we think of them, on one hand we might say they are the best new to the world innovator that exists. In reality, they're not doing that kind of innovation. When we look at the products that they've made, they're a brilliant fast follower. They're brilliant at seeing what has already caught the market's attention and then packaging it and designing it in such a way that it overwhelms the market. The iPod is a great example, and the same theme runs through all their products, though. The MP3 player existed from hundreds of providers long before an iPod came around, but Apple, through their understanding of what people really want, so there is a lot of ethnographic research going on. As a young company, Apple was hiring the people that they were building products for. So they were, internally, they had that kind of expertise to know what they needed to design for. So very good at being a very good fast follower.
Great. And I want to say that Gemma Bradley, who is the other developer of the course, has chimed in that Apple uses a fast follower strategy. Apple looks at the job that customers need to be done. Ease of use has been a highlight of Apple products. Design is cool and easy to use. Yes, the user experience, and Apple invests in customer research, design value, and added innovation. And that's another point I want to add is Apple is not the first to the market. They improve upon and innovate upon ideas that are already in the market. So some specifics about the course in details. Are there PDUs available for the CIL certification?
There are. So the ones available are for the Project Management Institute. So people that are project managers can go to the 2-day workshop or the online course here and receive 16 PDUs for participation in that.
Great. So the 16 PDUs are available through both the online course and the in-person? Great. And also the specifics of the San Francisco dates are February 5th and 6th. Those 16 PDUs will be available, and the Startup Product Summit following that course on February 7th, additional PDUs will be available. The 3-day package is $1,797, which is just $100 more than the 2-day CIL course. So it's a really good package. Before the end of the hour, we will give away a free ticket to the Startup Product Summit. So there's a lot of questions about applying this information to hardware, to the automotive industry, to the mobile product management industry, to software applications. And it occurs to me we're not going to get to all of the answers in our 4 minutes that are left, Chad. So fortunately, Chad will be on the Global Product Management Talk a week from Monday, January 14th, where we will pick up these questions and answer, as well as you can email him directly at Chad at
productinnovationeducators.com. I remember Pi. And if Pi was available as a domain name, we would have done Pi, but we did Product Innovation Educators.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so people can register for the online course directly from your site. They can register for the in-person course at the AIPMM site for the 3-day February 5th, 6th, and 7th. They can email me directly, cindy@startupproduct.com, for that registration. Drum roll. I'm going to pick the winner. Okay. And the winner of the... Okay. Goes to Jennifer Peck. Jennifer, congratulations. You have won free registration to Startup Product Summit in February 7th in San Francisco. Hope you can attend the CIL 2-day course ahead of that. And for upcoming webinars, next week, the AIPMM webinar series continues with the rise of the software as a service product manager with Tom Evans. And this coming Monday, we are talking about iterative product development with Joe Stump of Sprintly, which is a project management software. Joe Stump will be speaking at the Startup Product Summit. Please join us by going to blogtalkradio.com/PRODMGMTTALK. Register for the upcoming AIPMM webinars at the AIPMM.com site. And subscribe to the AIPMM newsletter to get updates of this information and excellent articles. The recent one was written by Chad. Go to AIPMM.com/subscribe. Follow the AIPMM on LinkedIn under companies. And to find out more about this certification and other credentials at AIPMM, go to the site AIPMM.com. For specific issues about, here's a question on how to pay for the CIL course. People want to register right now, which is great. Chad, can they pay by credit card over?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah. So if you go to the website, productinnovationeducators.com, and you click on the AIPMM area, one of the menus on there is buy the CIL prep now, and you'll see that on the list. And we do go through PayPal as the payment system, which is perfectly glad to accept credit cards, and you can pay that way. And we did this as introductory pricing. There's no special promotional code or anything you need. The introductory price for this January 8th start is $395. So click there, and it will take you through paying.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chad, for starting off the AIPMM Webinar Series 2013 with an excellent start. I look forward to talking with you more, and offline, I will send you the other questions that we didn't get to during the talk, and we will people will be getting email with more information on how to follow up.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. I was glad to participate in this. Always glad to help AIPMM. And thank you for everyone that attended, and thank you for the questions.
Thank you also, Gemma Bradley, who was in the participants, and Steve Johnson, and all of the excellent participants. Great comments, and look forward to having you join us again. Have a great week.